When you think about your social media feed, it feels like it's yours, right? Kind of personal. But it's definitely not random. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the hidden architecture behind your screen, that invisible design that's quietly shaping what you see, what you think, and yeah, even how you feel.
Right. So every single time you pop open an app and you start that endless scroll, you're not just looking at a random jumble of posts. You're actually walking into a space, a world that has been meticulously, carefully designed. And that brings up a huge question. Who is the architect? And maybe more importantly, what were they trying to build?
So, to find our architect, we've got to do what they always say: follow the money. And that journey starts with the very foundation of this whole digital world: the business model. A model that, you'll see, is built on a really powerful illusion. If you think back to the early 2000s, the mission was pretty simple. It was just about connection. But then in 2004, Facebook launched, and that was a real turning point. The goal of just connecting people started to merge with a brand new goal: making a profit. And that shift? Well, that's what turned these platforms into the complex, money-making machines that we all use today. And this gets us right to the heart of the deal we all make, whether we realize it or not. The promise is, hey, here's a free way to connect with the entire world. But the reality, the actual business, is all about capturing and selling the most valuable resource there is online: your attention. You've probably heard this quote before, and there's a good reason it's so famous in the tech world. See, if you're not opening your wallet, it's because you're paying with a completely different kind of currency. Every single scroll, every like, every share, that's all data. Data that gets packaged up and sold to advertisers. In this business model, our attention, we are the product. Okay, so if your attention is the product being sold, how in the world do these platforms keep you from looking away? Well, that brings us to the engine that drives this entire system. Let's talk about the algorithm. We tend to think of the algorithm as this helpful little guide, just showing us stuff it thinks we'll enjoy. But its main job isn't really to make us happy or to keep us informed. Its one true goal is to maximize the time we spend on the platform. Period. It's designed to keep us engaged, to keep us hooked for as long as humanly possible. And the way it does this is with a constant feedback loop that never, ever stops. So, step one, you interact with something: a like, a share, you watch a video. Step two, that data is instantly harvested. Step three, the algorithm uses that data to predict what you're going to do next. And finally, step four, it fine-tunes your feed with the content that's most likely to get you to interact again, which of course starts the whole cycle all over. Now, this isn't just some clever bit of code. This is literally applied psychology. Every notification, every little red bubble, every like you get gives your brain a tiny little hit of a pleasure chemical called dopamine. And that creates a reward loop, a craving, that can make it incredibly difficult to just put your phone down. It's basically reinforcing addictive behavior, all by design. But here's the thing: this incredibly powerful digital architecture, it doesn't just stay online. It has these profound and very, very real consequences that ripple out into our world. So let's take a look at this human ripple effect. So what kind of data are we even talking about here? What's fueling this machine? Well, it goes way, way beyond just the posts you like. It can include your physical location, your browsing history all across the internet, every single interaction you've ever had on the platform, and yep, in some cases, even your voice data. And we've already seen this data used in ways that can literally shake societies. The 2016 US election was a huge wake-up call about social media's power to influence how people think. Then that was blown wide open in 2018 with the Cambridge Analytica scandal, where data from millions of people was harvested without them even knowing, all for political targeting. The debate over where to draw the ethical lines here, it's still raging today. And the cost isn't just societal, it gets deeply personal. I mean, think about it. That constant fire hose of curated, perfect, idealized lives, study after study has linked it to a rise in some serious mental health issues. We're talking about anxiety, depression, and that feeling we all know, that nagging fear of missing out, or FOMO.
And on a bigger scale, that same algorithm that keeps you hooked can also trap you in what's called an echo chamber. By constantly feeding you content that it knows you already agree with, it starts to insulate you from different perspectives. Your own worldview just gets echoed back to you over and over, which can make us more polarized and allows misinformation to just spread like wildfire. But look, this story is not over, not by a long shot. As more and more people become aware of these issues, the digital landscape is actually starting to shift. So the big question is, what comes next?
So, the way things are now is mostly centralized. That means one company, like Meta or X, controls the whole platform and owns all the data on it. But there's this new model that's gaining ground: decentralization. On platforms like Mastodon, the network is run by thousands of independent servers, often operated by the users themselves. And that structure, it puts you back in control of your data.
And this is all part of a much bigger picture, really. There's a growing demand for platforms that are more open and ethical, which is why we're seeing these alternatives pop up. And at the exact same time, we are right on the edge of the metaverse, a whole new immersive frontier that's going to raise a completely new set of questions about how we live our digital lives.
Which brings us right to our final and I think most important question. This hidden architecture we've been talking about, it was built by a handful of people for a very specific purpose. But now, as we're all standing here at the beginning of whatever comes next, we all have a role to play. So the question isn't just who is the architect anymore. It's what kind of architects will we choose to be?